Welcome to my Fanatec Shifter SQ 1.5 Sequential Spring Replacement Guide. In this video, I'm going to show you how to easily replace a broken sequential spring in your Fanatec Shifter. Coming up. As you can see here, the H pattern fit here works perfectly fine. But when switched to sequential mode, the gear lever is not returning to the neutral position anymore. The gear lever will just stay at the third or fourth gear position. Here's a tip. Before you start the repair, you may want to keep a few napkins or a rag nearby, because this can be a fairly greasy process. I actually used a cutting board with a sheet of paper on top for the repair. Using a plate or a baking tray is also a good option for an easy cleanup. I also use a large plate as a parts tray to keep all of my greasy bolts, screws, and other parts together for easy replacement and cleanup. Step 1. Start by taking out the 4 bolts at the top of the shifter. I'll be taking them out in a crisscross pattern. This reduces the likelihood of things shifting, flexing, or twisting. It's just a precautionary measure. Put the 4 bolts aside, but keep them together for easy replacement. By the way, there's no need to remove the shifter knob as I did. It's just a habit. Step 2. Lay the shifter on its left side and take the top off slowly. Be careful, as there is a cable connected to a circuit board that is located on the right hand side of the shifter body. Unplug the smaller of the 2 connectors. Then move the shifter plate away from the body. Put the shifter plate at a safe distance away from your work area. Step 3. Flip the shifter body upside down and remove the 4 bolts as shown. Again, I'll be taking them out in a crisscross pattern. Put these 4 bolts aside, but keep them together for easy replacement. Step 4. Separate the bottom plate from the body. Put the body at a safe distance away from your work area. Now let's get down to business. From here on, your hands will be getting a bit greasy, so keep a napkin or cloth close by. This is the mechanism that switches the shifter between H pattern and sequential modes. When the plate goes down, it's in H pattern mode. When the plate comes up, it's in sequential mode. Step 5. Remove the 3 bolts on the gear plate. I'm going to start by removing the 2 smaller bolts at the ends of the plate first. Then, I will remove the bigger bolt at the center of the plate. But please be careful, they are sometimes a bit tight. Now put these 3 bolts aside also, but keep them together for easy replacement. Step 6. Carefully lift off the gear plate and place it on a napkin or some other surface where the grease would not be a problem. As you can see here, the spring is just moving back and forth. It's totally broken. Step 7. Now let's remove the 2 screws on what I call the butterfly support. It's kind of shaped like a butterfly. Anyway, it's just a brace that keeps the ends of the spring in position. Make sure to remove the lubricant off of the threads of the screws to avoid them getting easily stripped when replacing them. Now let's put aside the butterfly support for now, but be careful, it's very greasy. Step 8. Take out the bolt that's holding down the spring and wipe its threads also. Step 9. Remove the broken spring. Here you can see how the spring had snapped in half. Now set aside the old broken spring. Here's a look at the new spring that we are going to be installing. Here's a tip. I used a tiny bit of grease from the butterfly support to help lubricate the new spring before I installed it. If you're getting value from this video, then please click the like button. I'd really appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the guide. Step 10. Place the spring into position and secure it with the bolt. But keep the bolt a bit loose for now. Do not tighten it all the way. Step 11. Secure the legs of the spring. Take the leg on the right hand and place it on the left hand side of the metal tab. Then take the leg on the left and place it on the right side of the metal tab. But be careful, as this step can be a bit finicky. But don't worry about it too much, as the bolt is holding the spring in place, so it can't come out. Step 12. While holding the spring in place, place the butterfly support back into its original position and replace the two screws. But be careful not to over tighten the screws or you may strip the threads. Now that the new spring is in place, you're almost ready to go back to racing. You just have a few more steps to go. Step 13. You can finish tightening the bolt all the way. But again, be careful not to over tighten the bolt or you may strip the threads. Step 14. It's time to reassemble the gear plate. Place the gear plate back into its original position and insert the bigger of the 3 bolts. Use your fingers to start the tightening process to make sure that you do not cross-thread the bolt. Once you are sure that the bolt is going in correctly, you may use your Allen wrench to continue the process. Do not fully tighten the bigger bolt until you have replaced the 2 smaller bolts first. After tightening the 2 smaller bolts, feel free to tighten the larger bolt as well. Now be careful not to over tighten any of the bolts, or you may strip the threads. Now it's time to reunite the bottom plate with the body. Step 15. Place the body of the shifter onto your work surface upside down and gently place the bottom plate back onto the body, making sure that it is seated properly. Make sure that you are installing the bottom plate in the correct orientation. Remember that the longest part of the body with the notch is the rear, and the shortest part of the body is the front. Also remember that the micro switch with the cable on the bottom plate goes towards the rear of the shifter assembly. Step 16. Replace the 4 bolts in a crisscross pattern. Be careful not to over tighten the bolts, as you may strip the threads. By the way, sorry about the camera losing focus there for a bit, but you get the picture. Now it's time to connect the micro switch to the circuit board. Step 17. Lay the shifter on its left side and bring the shifter plate close enough to the body so you can plug the cable back into the circuit board. Make sure that it's plugged in properly, but be careful not to damage anything. Step 18. Flip the shifter body right side up onto your work surface. Then carefully set the shifter plate down into position. Step 19. Replace the 4 bolts on the bottom plate. Tighten them in a crisscross pattern. But be careful not to over tighten the bolts, or you may strip the threads. I wonder how many times I said strip the threads in this video. Anyway, let's move on. Step 20. Test the shifter to make sure that everything is working correctly before reinstalling it onto your rig. Now here's a final tip. A. Switch the shifter into H pattern mode and run through the gears to make sure that everything feels okay. Then shift it over into sequential mode and make sure that the gear lever is returning to the neutral position after every shift. B. Connect your shifter to your computer and open the Fanatec software. Now check to make sure that the gear shifts are registering properly in both H pattern and sequential modes before reinstalling the shifter onto your rig. You know, just in case. Once you have followed this guide accurately, I don't anticipate you having any issues at all, as this is a fairly easy fix. Now go have some fun, as your shifter should be working as good as new. So before you go, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank my patrons, my good buddies Alex, Chris, and Victor. You guys are a huge help in keeping that website up and running, and I really appreciate your support. And if any of you guys want to join in and become a patron of the channel, I will leave a link in the description below. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if this video was helpful to you at all, please consider hitting the thumbs up button. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos just like this one. So until the next video, you guys stay safe and I'll see you in the next one.